Hello everybody, this is part 2 of Miguel Faria's rebuttal to Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel's explanation of why he hopes to die at 75. So I did a 3-part video about his 2014 article and giving a little bit of my opinion interspersed in there. And now I am doing the rebuttal. Another gentleman responded. And this is video number 2. Check out video number 1. And the title of that one is Bioethicists versus Natural Law. The Pope weighs in. So I don't really have a congruent title here. My subtitle is America lulled into a pathetic state of mindlessness, maybe with a question mark on the end. But now I reread this article, and I'm going to give you the difference right now between Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel and Miguel Faria. Here is what it is. The business of medicine versus promoting human performance and an appreciation of humanity, and just an appreciation of being on this earth and enjoying each other and helping each other reach fulfillment. So that's a long title. Let me continue on. So Miguel Faria, and he may be a doctor as well. I didn't look him up, but they may both be doctors, because he wrote in the Surgical Neurology International Journal, and so it's possible he may be a surgeon as well. So here's where they differ. So Dr. Emanuel, in stressing the relatively young age in which productive people reach the apex of their creativity, for example, novelists, poets, and physicists, he argues as if becoming poet laureates and Nobel Prize winners were the universal aspirations of the average citizen, which, you know, not all of us are going to be poet laureates and whatnot. He says most people do not aspire to reach those dizzying heights. The more realistic goals in life instead are more mundane, namely fulfillment and contentment. Not mundane to me. I mean, that sounds very glorious, to have fulfillment and contentment. Also, qualities that are attained by being good citizens and the satisfaction of leading good and productive lives. And that's the goal for all of us, productive lives, right? Men and women performing their occupations and respective jobs, whether mental, artistic, or intellectual, and doing them well. In short, being the best we can be in this transitory phase of our existence. So I like that explanation. And that's why I say Dr. Emanuel is more business-minded. He's a tech guy, he's a numbers guy, and this author is more of fulfillment, contentment, and, you know, what it is for you personally. What do you personally get out of taking care of your body, making yourself healthy so that you can go out and do great things? And I used to say at the end of my videos, be a positive ripple effect in your community, and that's exactly what he is talking about here. So the next point is, in the article, Dr. Emanuel writes that if we live longer than age 75, we are no longer remembered as vibrant and engaged, but as feeble, ineffectual, even pathetic. And I gave you my explanation to that. I don't agree with that. As far as suicide or euthanasia, Dr. Emanuel claims he's against those options, although it escapes him that logical reasoning will lead many people to pursue exactly those options when afflicted with depression, physical illness, or merely reaching that lethal age of 75. I like how he posited that, the lethal age of 75, or even worse, by which I refer to the state compulsorily implementing exactly those policies. They're getting sneaked in, if you haven't realized it by now in 2023, implementing exactly those policies purportedly as pragmatic and sound health care policies, when in fact they may be implemented for political expediency or budgetary considerations, which I underlined that phrase right there, political expediency or budgetary considerations. Now, so health care is really not care. It's just putting you in a box. And what box are you in right now? Are you in the productive box, or are you the getting in the way box? We don't want you around. You're hindering us. You're taking away resources. And Dr. Emanuel, in his article, he said, there's a limited supply of medical resources. But is there really? And I talked about that in prior videos. So healthcare is not care at all. Take care right out of that name. Let's call it something else. I've heard it called the medical industrial complex, which is probably more descriptive. So political expediency or budgetary considerations, meaning we expect the government to supply our medical care when it really shouldn't be that way. It should be up to us, and we should have our own resources. But they're kind of taken away from us. We call it taxes. So we probably have the resources, and it's gone in an instant when you pay that tax bill. And so that's my opinion there. So Miguel Faria said, this is particularly ominous when the state is involved in administering and funding medical care, as in socialized medicine or Obamacare. Remember, this article was written in 2015 as a follow-up to Dr. Emanuel's article from 2014. So we are almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. How has the world changed? Has the world improved? Have we put our heads together and come up with a better way to help society? That's the question. Now, I lost my page. Sorry. Hope you can put up with me here. So in the next paragraph, Dr. Emanuel claims he is not advocating compulsory end of life at age 75 in order to save resources, ration health care, or address public policy issues, but that is exactly what he is inferring. So that's the criticism he has of Dr. Emanuel. In fact, in the next breath, he admits his proposals do have at least two policy implications, and these implications do refer to reducing life expectancy. So continuing on, Dr. Emanuel complains that Americans are obsessed with performing physical and mental exercises, undertaking diets, taking vitamins and supplements, and that's kind of excessive and maybe a little obsessive compulsive. But even more importantly, they want to improve their quality of lives, not just cheating death, but quality of your life is important. And so I wrote, yes, do it. Next is paragraph. Do everything you can to be as healthy as you can possibly be, because you will have a better quality of life. You will also save on your health care costs. And they mentions doing mental puzzles and these little brain games, which Dr. Emanuel didn't really go for that. And that this author, Miguel Faria, says, I refer to reading and studying the classics of history and literature for their own sake, listening to good music and moments of contemplation for mere enjoyment, spending more leisure time with our families. So he boils it down to just the ultimate contentment of your life, especially in your later years when you're in retirement. In short, enjoying all of those happy activities of leisure and exercising those fundamental virtues which eluded us in our earlier, more active and hectic years of youth and adulthood. So namely, when we're trying to make a lot of money, raise our families, he talks about that being hectic and working hard in young adulthood. It is in our advancing years that we have the leisure time to spend in just those intellectual activities that engage the mind and soothe the soul. So yes, he's saying now you've got the time, use it wisely, enjoy the leisure, enjoy it. And so you need to be healthy to enjoy that. And when you reach that point of whatever that magical number is, 65, whatever Social Security tells you is a good time to retire, that is when you cut back on killing yourself with work and enjoy. Smell the flowers and enjoy your family. Enjoy the people around you. And he says many find happiness and satisfaction in doing what they've always done. And he mentions not everybody really retires. His own father, a physician, stayed active beyond the age of 70, 75. And he mentions another doctor, Dr. James Osman, editor-in-chief of Surgical Neurology International, who at age 76 remains a scholar, a teacher, and an incorrigible multitasker who seems to gather ever more speed in life as he gets older. So this gentleman is very productive at the age of 76. So who's to say, just because the statistics say, oh, you're not as productive after age 60, that's just statistics. Don't use that. Don't use that to make predictions. Just live your life to its fullest, no matter how old you are. That's me adding in my editorializing. So he said that Dr. Emanuel is incorrect, stating that we cannot learn as we get older. So now we're jumping to what can your brain actually do at that age? And we know you can still learn. Your brain is still active, and because the no neural connections in rewirings, that's myth, that's put to rest. You can learn, and we know that. So anybody who says you reach a certain point and your brain's done, no longer true. Get that out of your head. That is myth, myth, myth. So what should we do? We should be engaging our brain in our fulfilling activities. And one of my other mantras is, expand your talents beyond your comfort zone every day. I don't care how old you are. Do something that's a little bit difficult, that challenges you. That is the point. Don't slow down. I mean, you can give up some activities like working hard, working like a dog. You don't have to stay in a job you don't like, but pursue things that interest you. Pursue your talents. So the next paragraph, the next topic, and I underlined this, the ultimate good life is not necessarily found in our hard-working, intensive, utilitarian and productive years, but in our years of leisure and contemplation that in today's stressful and fast-moving society can be attained only in our advancing years. Well, yes and no. If you are young and working hard, you do need to take time out to smell the flowers and teach that to your children. You don't want your children growing up to being workaholics. And if you're a workaholic, get that balance. Get stuff off your plate that doesn't need to be there, so you can have a balance of work and leisure, of course. And what's on the next page here? He continues to talk about and just having this leisure time and enjoying it. I'm not arguing here against individuals exercising their right to medical autonomy, especially those suffering from chronic disease and terminal illness. End-of-life decisions should be left to individual patients, their families, and their physicians. What I'm saying is that lives can be productive and fulfilling, worthy of living past age 75. I'm also cautioning bioethicists from propounding, there's an interesting word, the utilitarian concept of a duty to die because a certain lethal age has been reached or chronic illness has become manifest. So he's saying it's just inappropriate. Get that idea out of your head. We cannot separate, nor does Dr. Emanuel distinguish the process of aging from infirmity and illness. Certainly one leads to the other, and the duty to die at age 75 becomes the duty to die at any age once a life is deemed not worth living. Death then is prescribed by the government planners and the doctors and bioethicists employed by the state, whether one reaches a certain age or is afflicted by illness. And he's got a lot of footnotes here. So take take umbrage in this. Be aware of how there's a shift in the way people are focusing on humanity as a whole. Be cautious there. And he also touches on how Dr. Emanuel says, why are we working so hard at extending the lives of older individuals when we should be focusing on children? While I admit this is partly true, many of these people can be returned to normal or near normal life with proper medical nursing care. Moreover, medical and Judeo-Christian ethics, not to mention the lessons of history, have taught us that we should treat with compassion the sick and the most vulnerable segments of our society. So I'm going to say children and the elderly are both the most vulnerable in our society, and we shouldn't choose one over the other. And he does mention that history should be a lesson to us. Societies that do not do this descend into cruelty and barbarism. Once again, we must recollect the lessons of fairly recent history. And he mentions the German physicians during a certain era who were willing accomplices with the Nazis in ketonology, if I'm pronouncing that right. Ketonology is the science of killing. So this kind of gross. I don't like the sound of that. This was done, we learned, for the good of German society and the improvement of the health of the German nation. What is a nation? So we have and I think if we take the word nation, he said German nation, but let's just say nation, generic nation. The health of a nation. We're taking out the humanity. We're just saying we've got to do all we can with the resources we have, the tax dollars, and come up with a plan to maintain the health of a nation. Now we're getting into murky terminology. We're ignoring the individual. We're ignoring the family. The family takes care of their members. And if we get rid of that idea of we have families in place and the honoring of families, now we're becoming, as he said, controlled by the state. Everything is decided by the state. And that is not how we're intended to live. We are in a nation that promotes self-determination. We are in a nation that promotes self-governing. We govern ourselves. We have the discipline to take care of ourselves, but somehow we flip that on its end and feel like there should be this big pile of money called the tax revenue, and we should use that instead and tell you how to live. I'm not all for that. I'm not all for that. So I'm just repeating that same theme. Remember, are we being lulled into a pathetic state of mindlessness? I hope not. So that pretty much sums up Miguel Faria's rebuttal to Ezekiel Emanuel's article. And so we're just looking at, is there a business of healthcare, or are we promoting each individual being the best person they can be? I see medicine as just numbers crunching. Your blood work should be in a certain range. This should be in a certain range. Your blood pressure should be in a certain range. We're just looking at putting you in a box. Are you in that box? And that just takes away from your own creativity. We ignore your own life experiences. We ignore what your brain has learned. What have you learned over a lifetime? We're ignoring your own wisdom. That's not health to me. And I want you to think about that and dive into that. Where are you? Are you in a box? And is that a box you want to be in? Do you want somebody else calling the shots, or do you want to live your life to the fullest in your own control? That's the thoughts. And why am I a chiropractor that promotes brain health? because if you put the brain first, the body follows. And if you're going to be a positive ripple effect in your community, you need the best brain. And if you put the brain last, and a lot of healthcare ignores the brain, it just assumes the brain is going to work all the time, but you've got to give back to the brain. It uses up so much energy. You've got to take care of your brain. Brain first is body freedom, and I teach that with the Brain First protocol. Thanks for watching, and look for the next video. Like and subscribe and share, and get these conversations going among you and your friends and your family members. It's important. Don't leave it up to somebody else. This is your life. Thanks for watching.